So a good friend of mine, one of my old creative directors at an agency in Brisbane, told me that people will be absolute dickholes to you, regardless of whether you're good, you're bad, you're amazing, you win 50 gold lions, you are the Old Spice writers. It doesn't matter what's going to happen. People are going to be jerks to you. She said that all that matters is that your mum, your boss, and yourself are happy with the work that you do. Now, I was told this as a junior copywriter, just trying to figure my way out around the relatively easy Brisbane advertising landscape. I just had my first bit of work put up on Campaign Brief, and shock and horror, some asshole called Anonymous informed me that my work was shit, it had been done before, it lacked any creativity, and that my life to this point had been a waste of everyone's time and I should just go and end it all. Yeah, asshole. But in retrospect, I should say thank you to Anonymous. Even though he or she is generally a massive prick, they help you develop an absolute lack of care for what some faceless person on the internet has to say about you. Now, let me just tell you, when you go on reality TV, even if it's a pinnacle of TV success like Big Brother, when you get out, people are going to say some things about you that aren't really that nice. But it helped me, that one original jerk on Campaign Brief made me realise that the internet's just like a newspaper. It's full of opinions, and just because Andrew Bolt writes something, it doesn't mean you should give a shit about what it's got to say. Now, my name's Michael Beveridge. Around half a year ago, I had about 10 minutes of fame, including ad breaks, after a stint on Big Brother. And I've made the most of this with a semi-successful transition from copywriter to breakfast radio host. I say semi-successful because I'm still in my probation period. Fingers crossed. I'm now part of the Michael Haley and Burjo show. When American people say Burgo, it's the funniest thing in the world, so we're thinking about changing it to the Burger Show because he's a big fat guy. So that's good. And that's in Adelaide, and it's part of the 2-day network. And it's insane. I went from living in Brisbane where B105, I listened to it every single day, and Labby Camilla and Stav, or Jamie Dunn and co, they were these gods, and now that's the role I have in Adelaide. So it's this incredibly lucky position that I've been offered, and I'm not overall, like, I'm as humble as it comes. You know, I realise I've taken the easy option, so I apologise to anyone in radio that I meet because I know that they hate me. I've gone from writing radio ads to reading them, looking after company social media strategies, to trying to look after my own, and working on tone and style guides for not just a faceless company, but for myself, which is way harder because you're a lot more dedicated to the subject. Now, initially I thought that I wasn't going to be prepared for a career in radio. It was a huge jump, and I knew I was lucky as hell to get the call up. It's only after about 6 months that I realised that advertising can actually set you up really well for a career in radio. Now, I saw that half of you are agency side, which hopefully you'll get some of the 3 jokes that I've got planned. A question that comes up a lot when I'm talking to old friends in the ad community is if there's a shared common attitude within the radio industry and Adland. And you wouldn't believe it. It's insane. I loved being in advertising and marketing. I love the people. I love the culture. Well, I'd say perks, but there weren't any at a junior level. But there's this universally held concept that we're all so ridiculously pretentious and self-absorbed in an industry that, I mean, I've gone from things from selling beer to dogs to raising money for amazing charities. It's so wide-spanning. And the same applies to radio. Last week we did a joke about Winnie the Pooh taking laxatives so he could run faster. And that went for like 3 days. But then we also raised $100,000 for underprivileged kids. It's light and shade. It's this amazing platform to be able to do really great stuff. And that's what advertising's about as well. But what are the connections between radio land and ad land? I thought about it, and I came up with 5 things that I picked that have come from Adland that have made the transition to radio a little bit smoother for me. The first one, as you might have thought, is that haters are going hate. The example I gave first about industry blogs ragging on your work ties in very closely with radio work. Radiotoday.com.au is basically the mumbrella/campaign brief of the radio world, and Anonymous is always around to let you know what's going on. And to be honest, I get it. Creativity is competitive. We all want the best. We all want that kind of gold. And if it just so happens to be for the best result of the client, that's even better. I know so many times you'd go into briefs. As a junior, we'd hear the seniors say, forget about awards. That's great. You have 500. I have none. That's the only way I can... I mean, I'd see ads on FBI recruitment. Need only apply if you have awards. It's one of those catch-22 positions where you need to try and get awards as a junior, but then the seniors tell you not to. It was really confusing. In advertising, you write for the reader, not the client. In radio, you write for the listener, not the advertiser. Now, our job is to make killer content, and sometimes the search for the best stuff brings out the green-eyed monster. The minute I see an amazing junior team do something really great, I just want to get online and tell them that they suck and that it's been done before. But I never do. People are always going to be critical of your work, and sometimes it's going to come from your peers. Now, a few weeks ago, one of Australia's prominent radio hosts called me an A-grade fuckwit. Like, this guy was my god. I love this guy more than anything. I wrote an article from Umbrella, and he came out and absolutely slammed me. And not only that, his friends then got on and absolutely slammed me. And it killed me. I didn't know what to do. I mean, this is a guy, I had all his compilation CDs. Let's just call him T. Ross. No, that's too easy. Tim R. And the only thing I could grab positively from it was that I was at least an A-grade fuckhead. I wasn't sure if being a C-grade fuckhead was a bit better or worse, but I'll take any A I can get at this part of my career. But what I remembered was the words of my old creative director. Called my mum. She said I was going all right. I asked my boss. Probation was still looking a bit shaky, but I'm okay. And I asked myself, was I in the right? Do I care what some mid-40s-year-old guy from Sydney's got to say about me? Is he my market? That's the long and short of it. If they're not your audience, they're none of your concern. And number 2, this one goes out to all my copywriters out there. Every day during the show, we do about 5 live reads, which is basically a live reading of a couple of points. You generally get them written down. You don't know what it's on about, and you go through it without much thought. Now, as a writer, radio ads are your gold. You don't have to share them with your art director. You get all the glory. But hell hath no fury like a writer scorned. Give one writer grief about anything, from their shoes to their shirt to their lack of deodorant, and they will make you suffer. We've all seen Anchorman. We all saw what Carl Stefanovic did to that newsreader. All it takes is a bit of moved punctuation, and you look like an absolute dick. When reading a police credit union live read, generally you're supposed to read the bit at the bottom fast, the T's and C's, but they usually don't put in read quickly. So I've gone, please check product disclosure statement, please read quickly. And I've just gone, oh shit. Shouldn't have told him he stunk. Number 3 is you've got much to learn. Advertising hammered this into me, and youth might be the future, but we sure as hell have got a lot to learn. Yes, the social media domain is ours, and we've got to hold on to it. But if it doesn't translate to sales, it really is just a bunch of wank, in my opinion. The Clemenger Melbourne creative directors were like my One Direction. I was that obsessed. Wheaton and Kennedy Portland was my Jersey Shore, and Alex Boguski was my Justin Bieber. You can tell I lived a really enjoyable teenage life. One of the biggest advantages I had over other copywriters when starting out in the industry is that I knew I sucked. I had a lot to learn. I might have had the chance to be great one day, but at the moment I was a half-assed hack, and not much has changed. Knowing your weaknesses lets you work on them, and that's allowed me to have the upper hand on a lot of things in radio. A couple of months ago, Sam Johnson, voice actor extraordinaire, came in with his dying sister. She was going to die within 3 months. The idea of speaking to these 2 people in the same room was terrifying. I didn't know what to do. I make jokes. That's my shtick. Having to talk to these people who are breaking down in tears. I was crying. Life isn't a joke, though, and being able to understand, hey, I'm not really good at emotional stuff allows you to grow, and that's what Adland taught me. Know your weaknesses and turn them into your strengths. Number 4, it's okay to have an ego. As a copywriter, I was constantly needing grading from my bosses. I'm like, is this okay? Is this funny? Is this all right? I can't live without it. It's one of the negative things that I have. And one of the hardest things for me to say was, my name's Michael, and I'm funny-ish. That's so hard to say in Adelaide, but it's weird because we won't pull someone up for being like, I'm so good at long-term copy. I'm a great leader. I'm a great drawer. So being funny in Australia, especially in the ad committee, which is very tall poppy, is very difficult. Radio is as cutthroat as it comes. There's really no time for modesty in an industry that works on 3 hours of new content a day. I can see my time running down. That's why I'm going quickly. I'm sorry. Rule number 5, really simple. Don't change. I've gone through a ridiculous experience, something that apparently only 120 people in Australia have experienced, and only 16 have experienced through the proliferation of social media and mobile phones with cameras on them. First thing I did when I got out of Big Brother was ask, did I win any bad awards? That's all I cared about. I wanted to know if I won any Brisbane Advertising and Design Awards. And I won 3, and it was the best day of my damn life. Regardless of whether you go on a reality TV show or you win a Palme d'Or at Cannes, remember the person you were when you were starting out is probably got you your job, and it's probably what's going to keep it for you. Stay nice, smile at strangers, and no matter what anyone thinks of you, as long as your mum, your boss, and yourself thinks you're doing all right, then you're doing okay. Thank you.